Courtyard by Marriott presents CNBC-TV18 Disruptors.
Hello and welcome to a brand new series on CNBC-TV18. You've tuned into India's Disruptors and I'm your host Nitya Balakrishnan. Well, as the name suggests, in this series, we highlight companies that are true game changers in their segment, brands that have disrupted the market and changed the way Indian millennials live. And in one of our very first episodes, we throw the spotlight onto a company that promotes healthy drinking. They manufacture and process fresh, pure and organic beverages that cleanse your body from within. Join me as we find out the untold story behind Raw Pressery. A little over 5 years ago, a man who wore many hats, investment banker, brand consultant and diamond jeweler, finally decided to start his own business, and India's beverage market has not remained the same since. 38-year-old Anuj Rakyan launched Raw Pressery in 2013 to introduce cold-pressed fresh fruit juices to the Indian consumer. From Mumbai, Raw's beverages were soon made available to consumers across Delhi, Bangalore, Hyderabad and Chennai. The product range was also developed to include smoothies, cold soups, detox drinks, nut milk and vitamin water. Today, Raw Pressery has not only cultivated the average Indian consumer, but has also begun its overseas expansion into Singapore and the Middle East. On this episode of Disruptors, we find out what exactly paved the way for Raw's success in a seemingly saturated beverage market. I'm at Raw's Pressery, or the processing plant in Panvel, and joining me to give an inside tour is the brains behind the business, Anuj Rakyan. Thank you so much for joining us here on India's Disruptors. And from originally a celebrity fad to now something that everybody wants to inculcate into their part of everyday life. Talk to me about how drinking healthy or detoxing has suddenly become a trend thanks to Raw.
Thank you, Nitya. Thank you for being here. I think it's only been publicized now that it's a celebrity fad and it's a detox. But I think that as Indians, we're really going back to our roots. We've always been making fresh juice at home. I think the real thing that's coming back is people want to have things which are fresh. They are clean label, which means they grow from the earth. They're not artificial, they're completely natural. So I think in a very broad way, we're really just going back to our roots, and we want things which are fresh and those that we can trust.
But Anuj, in that sense, how did you really think of this as a business idea? Because if you're just going back to something that we've done all through our lives, suddenly what made you think, okay, this is something that can become my breadwinner today?
Yeah. So I think when you see consumers in India, I think we've evolved in the kind of consumption patterns. We're becoming very conscious about the things that we buy. And I started noticing in my generation that convenience is a very, very big factor. But as we choose convenience, we want convenience without compromise. And in the previous generation, buying packaged foods was almost seen as something that we were doing out of guilt because we couldn't make it, we didn't have the time to make it ourselves. In our generation, we want to have the convenience, but we want to make sure that anything that we buy is also made in the same way that we make things at home.
Sure.
So when I saw this, I saw that people who we were making dahi at home, and now we buy curd, and then this curd has now evolved to other healthier aspects. We buy nariyal pani on the streets, or we drink ganne ka juice on the streets.
Absolutely.
But we're concerned that it's not convenient to carry a coconut with you, and we're concerned about the hygiene factor of the sugarcane juice that we have. So what we're really doing is actually taking all of these things and trying to make it in the same way.
Absolutely. And the interesting point you did mention was there's a lot of packaged juices and beverages in the market before actually you entered with this all, organic drink, pure mantra of sorts. Do you think, there is enough target audience? What's your, experience been in the last couple of years? Who's been your target consumer? And what is the reaction that they've had to this product?
It's been fantastic. I think you can see as you visit the entire Pressery, how quickly we've grown. Our target consumer is anybody who makes fresh juice at home. What we noticed was the number of people making juice at home was much larger than the people who were buying the juice that there was available in organized retail. So the unorganized market, or the domestic market for juice and other fresh beverages, much larger than the organized retail market, because consumers lost the trust and the confidence in a product that was made from concentrate and loaded with sugar. So our consumer is anybody who's making juice at home, who wants to drink a beverage which they can trust, which is clean, which is healthy, which is tasty. And we just are setting out to make sure that it's available in organized retail.
Fantastic. But Anuj, if I can just ask you to look back a little and talk to us initially about how the kind of investment and fundraising for this entire venture began, because definitely it's not a market that had a lot of players or predecessors before you, right?
Yeah.
And a whole lot of players after you. So talk to us really about the inception here at Raw and the whole fundraising experience for you.
In the beginning, I think about 4.5 years ago, when I asked anybody what cold pressed juice was, nobody knew. I think we've successfully created a category. And I think with the birth of this entire category, many functional food and beverages have started coming into the platform. Investors, fantastic investors like Sequoia, like Sama, like DSG, they've always been pioneers in backing innovative food and beverage ventures.
Sure.
These investors had the foresight to see what we're doing. This has been a globally established business model as well. And when they saw that, in the team that we had, and the passion and the vision that we really had in putting consumers first, they said, we want to invest in this.
Excellent. You did mention product. So before I actually talk about the kind of footprint you have across geographies in India and where exactly you're looking at next, if I can ask you, what was your initial product portfolio like? What was the first product that you wanted to launch at Raw?
We started off with a green juice. And if anybody told me that I would be making a juice with kale and spinach and dudhi and celery and amla, and the company would still be alive after a few years, I think everyone thought I was crazy. But that's where the market really is, and what are the things that we make at home? What are the different concoctions? So we had nutritionists, we have sensory evaluation teams, we had food technologists, microbiologists, all coming in to make a green juice. And today, of course, our product portfolio has expanded. So we started with things which were eclectic, which were highly functional, where I think we introduced chia seeds in a large way into India. We got kale, we got other superfoods, super greens, and started concocting them on a nutritional, functional level into our beverages. Today, our portfolio, has started spanning juices, which we even make, like orange juice is our #1 SKU. We have a freshly squeezed Valencia orange juice. I think it's the best orange juice in the world, and that's what consumers tell us. We are also innovative. Our #2 flavor is a sugarcane juice, and it's the first time ever that somebody has been able to bottle India's favorite ganne ka ras, when we say without the fuss. So we do functional juices, which have greens and root vegetables, etc. We do basic juices, which have single ingredient, like oranges, pomegranates, guava, mango, sugarcane. We have a category called hydration, in which we do nariyal pani. We've expanded into lemonade, nimbu pani, but nimbu pani with aloe vera. So again, it's very functional. And now we're moving into another category of almond milk. We think alternative dairy can be a very big category. Sure. So we have an almond milk which has just hit the market, which has the greatest amount of almond content compared to any other. And you'll see the packaging later. We think it's very appealing. And we're now launching into dairy. And I think dairy for too long has just been stuck at milk. Sure. And at the most gone into lassi. Yeah. But there are so many aspects of what we can do with dairy in terms of adding probiotics, making sure there's kefir, there's live cultures. It's good for your intestines. We're adding milk protein into the entire thing, so children can come into the category.
And the all-natural beverage still tastes good?
You'll taste it later and you can tell me.
So when are we expecting the probiotic range to hit the markets? Have you already begun testing?
Within 60 days.
Oh, fantastic. when exactly did you start the company Raw? When was the first product, the green juice, on the shelves at the market? And talk to me really about the kind of geographical footprint that you've grown to since then.
So when we started in January 2014, we were actually a 100% subscription-only home delivery company. We worked with the Mumbai Dabbawalas. We went door to door, like milk is delivered in the morning, and we went doorstep to doorstep delivering juice. So this was the real start of the company. And what started off as a juice offering became a cult, and from a cult it's now become a culture. And as we started doing that, retail approached us and they said, we would like to have your product in shelves. And so we said, okay, let's try and scale up. And we started working with Food Hall and Nature's Basket. So as we started with Food Hall and Nature's Basket, the experience was fantastic. The products were flying off the shelf. And we said, let's expand into other cities. So we had to scale our factory, get more machinery, use more pressurization, essentially, to keep the product clean label. And today we're present in 14 cities, over 2,000 points of sale. We're also in the Middle East. We're available in Dubai, we're available in Abu Dhabi, we're in Doha, we'll be starting Bahrain soon. We think the GCC is a fantastic opportunity. And we'll soon start Southeast Asia as well. But India remains our primary focus, followed by the Middle East and then Southeast Asia.
Excellent. Yeah. Now, you did initiate a subscription-only model. From there, when did you really see the traction, and what made you promptly enter a full-fledged retail scenario for Raw?
Well, the world was a very different place 4 or 5 years ago. I think way before all the food technology delivery companies started, we were trying to do home delivery on a subscription basis. So I think what started off at that time wasn't able to scale as much as retail. But now that we're sufficiently scaled in retail, and while that keeps going, I think we want to come back and start focusing on the direct-to-consumer model as well.
Interesting. Anuj, if you can explain for the benefit of our viewers, because like you said, a lot has changed in 4 or 5 years, and suddenly, whether it's juices, whether it's oils, this whole cold-pressed phenomenon has literally changed the way the game is played. So talk to us really about the benefits of cold pressing a juice. Cold pressing is a technique in which juice is extracted from fruits using a hydraulic press. It does not produce as much heat as traditional processes and keeps nutrients intact.
So if you make a juice at home, we use what we call in India mixie, right? And when you make that juice, if you leave it on the table, in about 30 minutes it will start frothing. Sure. The reason is because the centrifugal blade at the bottom of this mixer imparts heat with the friction, and so it does degrade the nutrition to a small extent. The air inside the entire container is then thrust right through, and so the entire juice is highly oxidized, and that reduces the shelf life. So you'll often find that you'll have to drink the juice immediately or it'll go bad. The idea of a cold press is that there's no heat or no air or no oxidation in the entire process. So you get more nutrition, you get more taste, it's more functional for you, and because it has an added shelf life, you can actually keep it with you, you can carry it with you, but you must refrigerate it.
Fantastic. If I can just talk to you about where we're standing, and not a lot of us get access to the actual pressery here at Raw. So talk to us really about the entire process in a nutshell of how you get those beautifully packaged, bottled, raw pressed juices outside.
Sure, so we have to start with the farm. I think at many levels we're less of a juice company or a beverage company, and we're more farmers. We work with farmers very, very closely. They are the lifeblood of our entire product and how we service it. We work with thousands and thousands of farmers in working with them on understanding how their crop is rotated, what they put in their soil, what they should not put in their soil, what kind of sorting and grading they do, what kind of machinery they use, and everything that's good for eating may not be good for juicing. So we've spent a lot of years in understanding what kind of pH level, what is the brix content, what is the salinity, what is the viscosity, and we've built a lot of information at our back end to understand sourcing. So when people talk about a fresh juice, they're only talking about when they make a juice from the fruit. But when we're talking about fresh, we're talking about when the fruit falls off the tree. And that's how far back in the supply chain that we can actually go to. After that, we have our own cold storages. We build our storages, and then we have freight systems that come in. Again, everything is completely digitally mapped, so we can understand temperature, quality, and shelf life of all the perishable items at every given
Power
point.
of technology.
Yeah, it's a digital transformation. And then when it comes to the pressery, we start juicing, as you can see all around us. We ensure that nothing is touched by hand. So you'll see that when it comes to how we wash our fruits for surface impurities, what kind of cleansing agents we use, everything is mechanized. Everything is integrated, everything is automated, and so from the time that the fruit goes into something which is washing, and then elevators, and then it gets juiced, and then it'll go into tanks, it'll get bottled, it'll get filled, it'll get pressurized. So the hygiene is very important. The real nutritional aspect of not contaminating or degrading it with any kind of heat, so temperature is very important.
Absolutely.
Environmental hygiene in terms of the air and how sanitized it is, that's very important. Equipment hygiene is very important. Personal hygiene is very important. What we're really trying to do is give the consumer something that they can trust.
Anuj, let's continue the conversation at a point of sales at a retail store to show our customers how accessible raw has become in everyday life. Still in conversation with Anuj Rakyan of Raw Pressery on India's Disruptors. And Anuj, we're at Hypercity in Vashi. And one thing that strikes me is I can't walk down this aisle without stopping to check out the colorful products of Raw at the shelf. So talk to me really about what made you pick on this kind of design and packaging really.
The choice of design or packaging was largely built on transparency. We realized that actually the fruits and vegetables have beautiful colors, they're natural, and in India we're so used to the seasonality of the fruits, and if you remember in December the carrots that you get are much darker in color, and we make gajar ka halwa out of it, and in the summer they're lighter in orange.
Absolutely.
And that's how we know the seasons change. So it's very natural in terms of showing what we're making. We believe that a consumer trusts the brand when they get to see the product, and hence choosing a transparent packaging became essential.
Sure.
Another thing about juices is that juices will settle because there are certain parts of the fruit which will be heavier, and then the lighter parts will go up. And we wanted to show that. Actually, one of the easiest ways to see if a product is artificial or not is to actually when it doesn't settle. Because it's completely made up of artificial ingredients which just bind it all together. That's not natural. So these are calls that we had to make in actually showing consumers the beautiful colors of fruits and vegetables, but also showing them transparency that our product is natural.
Absolutely. And even the logo, if we look at it, the branding that you've seen is very simple and direct. Is that a conscious call at Raw Pressery?
I think it just kind of is our DNA to keep things very simple, not really have splashing fruits and happy faces and all on one pack. I think we want to we're a simple company that is just trying to do something very simple, which is give the consumer a fresh natural product. So we want to strip everything away.
And before we walk along and really talk about more at Raw, talk to me about this, because we're finally looking at a non-milk product from Raw, and it's the almond milk across various flavors I can see. So talk to us really about this product. How was the reception to this product in recent weeks?
While India is one of the largest dairy consumers in the world, I think this generation is also one that seeks things which are non-dairy, but yet have milk and nutrition and protein and good fat. And in that, almond milk, badam ka doodh has been a favorite for all Indians. This is something that vegan people can drink, people who are lactose intolerant can drink. There is a lot of protein, a lot of good fat, a lot of vitamins, especially vitamin E, which people are seeking today. And hence we made this product. This also has one of the largest contents of almonds out of any almond milk that's available on the shelf. So, those were the reasons of making this. It's been flying off the shelf. People are really appreciating the design because from a distance you can see the almonds. And we're really calling out the king of nuts everywhere.
And again, one very simple thing, nut milk, not milk. It makes it very evidently clear what exactly it is. Yeah. But you are seeing a market out there in India for, lactose-free products. Are you seeing that significantly grow?
Well, I think all markets are being led by, health and taste.
Sure.
And when you look at these two, customers want things which are now innovative. They want to try newer things which actually fit into both of these, tasty and healthy. And when we say healthy, it's not just about vitamins and proteins. It's also about being clean label, being natural. And that's something that for a long time wasn't available in all of milk.
Sure.
So actually we're getting young kids to come in and they say that, we don't want to drink milk with chocolate in it. We don't mind having, milk which has chocolate but with almonds and with something else. And it's no longer, dairy in the same way. So actually, little kids are the ones that are really flocking to, our chocolate almond milk. I think that's really, and for the adults, we have a coffee version.
Fantastic. Now, if I can ask you really, all of these products, you're talking about price sensitivity being a key factor, like I mentioned, for the Indian consumer. What is the price range of products? For example, a couple of your juices, what are the price points like for the benefit of our viewers? And also the almond milk and maybe the probiotics range that you're launching soon.
So the juices would range from 50 to 150 rupees for a single serve. And once again, I think what we've compared it to is trying to match or be cheaper than the cost of making juice at home. That's for the single serve. But for the 1 liter, it would range from about 150 rupees to, on an average, about 300 rupees. And once again, it's a similar concept. But when you buy a 1 liter, you actually get an incentive in price. Because instead of buying 4 250 mLs, it's the same price as about 2.5 to 3 250 mLs. So there's a great habit that you can form and have it in your fridge at all times. Almond milk is similar. We're one of the most price-friendly almond milks that's available in the market, like I said, with a leading almond content. Dairy would also be in the range of about 50-60 rupees. So extremely affordable and also very, very value conscious in the fact that we don't add any sugar.
Interestingly, Anuj, we are at Hypercity, like we mentioned. So talk to me really about the retail partnerships that you have and how crucial they are, and what's the kind of sales you're seeing, which markets are really ticking for you, what kind of stores where, raw is flying off the shelves, so to speak.
Absolutely. I think where Srijit and I have spent a lot of time in terms of developing our retail partnerships, large format stores, the value formats, whether they're department stores, the supermarket, the grocery stores, those aisles have become very important to us. We always knew that modern trade would be, a very predictive revenue space for us, and customers have a lot of loyalty to stores like the one we're in. But as we expand general trade, which is so large in India, will become really where the belly of the market is. And then, of course, we're at airports, we supply airlines, we're in hotels, we're in schools, we're in hospitals, we're in coffee shops, we're in corporate offices, we're in canteens, we'll soon be at train stations. So, any place that somebody wants to drink something.
Fantastic. Now, if I were to ask you, what powers your passion, Anuj? What makes you wake up every morning and say, you know what, I want to make this the #1 beverage brand in India?
Well, in the world.
In
actually.
the world, oh great.
In the world. To a large degree, I think this is just passion, which we're really very purposeful about. We think that we can change the way that people consume beverages every day.
Sure.
And just in terms of adding value to people's lives, making sure that they're not drinking artificial sugar, which is just loaded and added. We live in a country which is very diabetic.
Yeah.
A lot of people have obesity issues. A lot of people who are lactose intolerant, we're giving them almond milk. So we're really trying to solve problems. And we're really trying to give people something that they can trust and which they can make a habit. And I think just the value of that, if we've created a category and that I've been able to do that, I think it's a great achievement which makes me wake up every morning. I think beyond the customer and #1 and the brand and the product, I think the team and the passion with which we all work, the culture that we have in the company to really drive the same objectives in the same direction at the same speed, that's something that just keeps us alive. It keeps us going.
Great. And if I ask you to look back, any key challenge that you remember, how did you overcome any obstacle, or has it just been smooth sailing all through?
Challenges have been plenty. I'll tell you one simple one. You're standing in a shelf today where you can see all our products neatly stocked. But there was a time where in India, in retail, there was no shelf, dedicated shelf for a chilled beverage.
Sure.
So the first time I went to a store and I said, where should I put this juice? We had to put it between a pineapple and a cauliflower. There was no, and today we have created this category. The consumers have actually come back and liked our product and given us love. And you can see the kind of, the problem that we've solved in the space that we've created in modern trade.
You did mention you wanted to be the #1 beverage brand globally. So talk to us about what other countries you've looked at and the outlook in a nutshell really for you and the company at Raw.
So we want to be the world's largest functional, clean label beverage brand. Our focus is right now in India. We're in 14 cities, over 2,000 points of sale. We should be close to 4,000 to 5,000 outlets by the end of this fiscal year. And we want to expand mostly into general trade as we move forward. We've done test pilots in the Middle East, which is going to be our secondary market. We're in Dubai, we're in Doha, we're in Abu Dhabi, we'll soon be in Bahrain. We also want to move into Southeast Asia. In that, we'll start with Singapore, then go to Kuala Lumpur. And so basically, we are #1 in India. We want to keep growing and focus on the Indian consumer, but then we want to become #1 in Asia before we really go global outside of the Asian subcontinent.
Fantastic. Anuj, here's wishing you and the entire team at Raw Pressery all the very best and continue to be India's disruptor. With that, we're absolutely timed out on this edition of India's Disruptors, but do tune in as we bring you game changers every week on this brand new series on CNBC TV18. From the entire team that put the show together, goodbye and thanks for watching.
Courtyard by Marriott presents CNBC TV18 Disruptors.